Hello and welcome to my tutorial on how to make a 3-stitch bobble. If you are making my pattern, the Bobble Shrug, you're here to learn how to make these beautiful bobbles. So let's get started. Once you get to the space where you need to make your bobble, your first stitch is a normal knit stitch, but you are not going to pull that stitch off the needle. You're going to take your thread, your yarn rather, and bring it between the two, and now you're going to purl as normal. Once you do that purl, again, we're not taking it off. You're going to take your yarn, take it back between the two stitches, the two needles, again, and make a knit stitch. So what you've done successfully is create 3 stitches out of that one. So you see we have 1, 2, 3 stitches. Now we're going to turn the work. Turn your work around, and you're going to purl those 3 stitches that you just made. So just like you would normally purl, you're going to purl those 3 stitches that we just created out of that 1 stitch. Once we have purled all 3, we're going to turn our work again, still working on those same 3 stitches. Turn your work around, and now you're going to knit these 3 stitches as normal. So traditional knit, whether you knit continental or you knit you're a picker. Why can't I think of the word term? You know what I mean? So same 3 stitches, turn it again. We're going to purl one more time those same 3 stitches. So we're purling them. And again, guys, we started out with 1 stitch. We now have 3 stitches, and we're working those same 3 stitches back and forth 3 times. So now this time, our bobble is basically done, right? Still the same 3 stitches. We're going to turn it, but this time we're going to knit all 3 of those stitches together. Now, you see as I take and push my finger through the back of the bobble so it's defined. But now we want to take those 3 stitches and make those 1. So that's probably going to be a little bit tight, but you can do it. Knit those 3 stitches together, and voila, bobble made. Right? So whatever the pattern calls for, you're going to knit 2 stitches in between, you're going to knit 3 stitches in between, whatever it calls for, do that. So in this example, I'm knitting 2 stitches in between, and now I'm going to work another bobble, one more bobble, right? So we're going to knit, but we're not pulling it out, right? Not taking a stitch off. Bring the yarn between again, and we're going to purl. Bring the yarn between again, and we're going to knit. And we have our 3 stitches, just like we did the first time. Now what do? Turn the work. You got it. Just turn it around, and now we're going to work those 3 stitches, and since we've turned it around, we're going to purl them. And you do this back and forth, right? In this case, in the directions for the pattern, you're doing it twice. So you're going to purl on both sides and knit on both sides. So turn your work, knit one more time, knit all 3 of those same stitches. You're always working the same stitch. So if you see a pattern that says it calls for a 3-stitch bobble, this is what I'm showing you how to do. If it said it was a 5-stitch bobble, it would be the same concept, but it would be 5 stitches instead of 3. Does that make sense? So we've turned again for the final time. We're going to purl those 3 stitches one more time. Again, still working with that same 3 stitches that we created out of the 1. Now your bobble is made. Turn your work. I always like to squeeze those stitches together, pull them to the end and make it a little easier for you, and knit those 3 stitches together. And now you have created another bobble. As simple as that. You see how I always put my finger through to kind of give the bobble some life, right? Simple as that. And then follow whatever the pattern says. If it tells you to, knit 2 more, make another one, or knit to the end, whatever the case may be, excuse me, do what the pattern says. So, as I was saying, right, depends on the size of the bobble. So if you wanted a bigger one, you wanted to make a larger bobble, then you would do the same thing. Just increase it by the number of stitches. So let's say your pattern called for a 5-stitch bobble. Same concept. You would do the same thing, but instead of 3 stitches, you would do 5 stitches. So take that 1 stitch that you're starting with and you make 5 stitches out of it, right? So you see I'm counting here. I think I have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes, I can pull it off now. Right? I can pull that off. I have my 5 stitches. And the same thing. You just turn your work. Now you're going to purl those same 5 stitches. And then turn it and knit those 5 stitches. And then the thing is, if it's 5 stitches, I would go back and forth 5 times to make you a nice, decent sized bobble. So again, creating a bobble is really just about manipulating that 1 stitch back and forth to give it some texture and some depth, so you have you a nice, decent bobble. And you can do different sizes depending on what you're working on, but this pattern, the Bobble Shrug, only calls for a 3-stitch bobble, which is what I showed you at first. This is just a bonus to kind of let you see the concept is the same. It's just a matter of how many stitches the design is telling you to do. So I'm on the back side again. I'm purling those 5 stitches. And then I'm going to come around and the hard work comes in when it's time to knit all 5 of those babies together. So we're going to knit one more time. And then we're going to purl one more time. And then we will make that bobble by knitting all 5 of those stitches together. So you see this one is going to be a lot bigger than the 3-stitch one. So same concept, guys. You're taking 1 stitch and you're increasing it initially. So in this case, we increased it by 5 into that 1 stitch. We made 5 stitches out of 1, and then we just kept working those 5 stitches back and forth until we have the decent sized bobble that we're looking for. So now that the bobble is done, now comes the fun part, and that is knitting all 5 of these together. It's doable, but it's a little work. Pull it through, tighten it up, and now, oops, I hate when yarn splits. Okay, so now you have your decent sized bobble. You knit to the end, and what I didn't say, guy, the next row would be you would purl all the way back and you make your bobbles on your knit side. So you can see the difference in the 3-stitch bobble and the 5-stitch bobble. So that's how you make a bobble. It can be for the edge of a product. It could be on the edge of a sleeve. It could be on a collar. Whatever you feel like doing, that's how you make a bobble. I'm looking forward to seeing you guys' project. Make sure you tag me.